is how will hyperscalers continue to change the dynamic of India's data center industry? Uh, I think when we think about hyperscaler and their demand today, some of the dimensions that come to my mind are large land, more power, different kind of network connectivity, sustainability challenges, and so on. What I'd do is I'd open it up for both Simon, you as well as for Pratap. If you'd like to double click into any of the parameters that you think are more crucial uh, when it comes to hyperscalers' impact on the data center industry today. Uh, Maybe Simon, you go first.
I think if we look at what's driving the demand of the hyperscale growth, not just in India, but most of the markets around Asia, it is that driving consumption. And obviously, AI is the headline topic at the moment, but there is still the digital transformation where organizations are shifting workloads where it makes sense for them. And I think a lot shifted everything to the cloud and now trying to find a balance of that. And I think the hyperscalers are looking to support by realizing that they need to be in the regions where their customers are so that they can get a strong customer experience, but also comply with some of the regulations that are coming into pass about where country data is stored and where it transits.
Understood. Pratap, any parameters that you would like to pick up?
Thanks, Vipin. I think India is an exciting market. Uh, I think as per the latest reports, it talks of adding about 600 to 700 megawatts in next 2 years. But I think the real challenge is, are we ready as India to cater to that growth? I think there are a lot of challenges that continue, particularly related to land acquisitions, power availability, talent, regulatory constraints, the permitting challenges, the time to get power. So I think challenges are too many, but we need to overcome those. I think AI will be one of the key drivers in next 2 to 3 years. So that's also kind of pushing the demand further of what we have currently. I think it's exciting time for India, but we all need to be ready for it.
Sure. Thanks, Pratap. Pratap, of all the parameters that you mentioned, right, is there any one or two that make it to the top of your list that probably gives you sleepless nights when you think about expansions?
I would say two of them. One is getting a clear land. It takes a lot of time to get a clear land with power availability and fiber. And I think one of the challenges, our day one demand is not what we need after 2 or 3 years. So I think power cost goes up significantly at the initial stage. The capex is high, talent availability. So there are many challenges. I think we all have to overcome that as an industry.
Yeah, seems Pratap, you're having a lot of sleepless nights. So Simon, you did touch upon AI being the elephant in the room, right? So considering AI, how does it impact one the interconnectivity requirements of different segments, right? It could be cloud service providers, CDNs, regular enterprises, and also ability like providers of your Equinix to provide interconnectivity solutions. So both the requirements as well as solutioning, does AI play a role there?
Obviously, there's the two different approaches to AI. There's the workload training, which benefits from a lower cost per square foot facility, but still requires large data transfer capability, but not so much latency. So it doesn't need to be situated in a metro city. Then the inference workloads of the trained models do require much shorter latency but still higher bandwidth. And so I do think we're seeing two different profiles of connectivity requirements when it comes to AI. Obviously, for providers like us, AI is another workload, but it's just one that requires so much data to be shifted. In cases where that data does need to move to the workload, or if the workload needs to move to the data, the key element in a field that is moving so quickly and changing is the ability to change providers as new providers with new features come on stream, so that as customers are experimenting with new methods of utilizing AI, they just have a lot more choice instead of baking in a long-term commitment.
Sure, sure. And you know, one of the use cases that I think about is uh, when you're sitting in a driverless car, you really don't want the car to communicate to the central core server to identify if it's a
You,
red light or a green light.
you do
And
not. You want that latency to be instantaneous. But likewise, you don't want to be paying the high rates if you're just doing training. You just need access to large bandwidth connectivity, but a lower cost per square foot for the energy that you're consuming.
got it. And Simon, does it also mean that some part of the inference actually sits in the end compute device? In this case, maybe the car.
Yes, of course, and even the phones that we're all carrying around. I think it as it always has, it makes sense to place the workload where it makes the most sense for that workload, and not be too married to everything being at the edge or everything being in the cloud or everything being on colo. Each workload is going to probably require a mixture of all.
Understood. And I believe this will also evolve in the coming years as AI makes its way. Thank you, Simon. So while that was more towards interconnect and networking, Pratap, what do you think we need to do to ready ourselves as India data center industry to meet the massive growth that is driven by hyperscalers stroke AI?
So I think one of the key requirement is to have a very strong supply chain. I think today everybody is overloaded. Uh, there are delays for all long lead items in terms of delivery. We all are ordering those, but there are a hell lot of delays. Then second is how do I deliver a quality which is truly international. Then adhering to health and safety, talent availability. I think we are all struggling with talent. There's a lot of attrition going on in the industry. And how do we get trained talent? Also, India has got a cost advantage as of now, but how long that will remain, because that needs to be seen. The steel, cement prices are shooting up. I think at what stage the power cost is going up. And I think renewable energies also, we need to provide renewable solutions. So yeah, those are some factors. And apart from that, I think although government policies also need to be changed substantially, we are seeing a movement, but we are still not there.
Sure, Pratap. I'm sorry, as a moderator, I should not be doing this, but maybe I'll take the leeway that in one of the morning sessions, I kind of structured the same thoughts as an external challenge, an internal challenge, and an adjacent challenge. The external challenge is to get 24/7 renewable energy, firm power to the extent that we want and connect, just plug and play. The internal challenge is talent development, and I think that's where, as an industry, we need to work closer with the education institutes. And the adjacent challenge is actually the supplier community, the lead items that you caused about. I think most of our supplier partners are here, Pratap. If you can give them a shout and tell them what you want. I think a lot of them are listening to us right now. But I think the challenge that they are also facing is we are a little abrupt in terms of when we want what we want. And and seriously speaking, the scale across the globe is increasing. So I'm sure they're trying their bit, but we want them to try harder and provide us.
If I can just add on to that, I think India is facing what nearly every jurisdiction is facing is how do you balance the increased demand for limited resources with what the community values, and how are data center operators like Equinix or Colt or Princeton going to articulate the value that we bring to the communities that we're in. And as communities are becoming more aware of data centers and the immense amount of resources that we do consume, we have to be more aware of what we're giving back to the community and how we are consuming those resources responsibly.
Absolutely, absolutely, Simon. Completely echo that sentiment. I spent a lot of my career with Tata Group, and there was a tagline. One of the many values that Tata had was that Enterprise do not exist for making profits, but enterprise do exist to meet the social needs. They exist for societies. So absolutely a fair point. Um, just stretching this a little further in terms of what's happening today. So while hyperscalers and AI are shaping the co-location part of the industry, they are also constructing their own data centers, what we call as self-builds. So maybe if either of you want to talk a little bit about, how do you see that impacting the overall DC infra business?
So I think the trend that we are seeing is they do self-build, but they also outsource to players like us. I think they've faced huge challenges in land acquisitions, permitting, getting power. So companies like us make their life easier. Uh, I think that will continue. Uh, so I think the hyperscalers are in particular region where government promotes their all the policies and changes, but some of the hyperscalers are still struggling in some of the states, like the incentives that were promised or the interventions that were promised do not happen. Land acquisitions take time, so there are issues as well
Right.
which need
So
to be tackled.
basically, what
Yeah,
you're saying is that there is a need for agile and fast decision making that players like Equinix, Colt, and PDG can do and support
yeah,
the overall growth of hyperscalers, irrespective of whether
absolutely,
they are building something for themselves or not.
absolutely.
Sure. Thanks, Pratap. Uh, one thing, when we are talking about the initial impact, and again adding my own views, is the way I see that as hyperscale and AI are growing, their specifications are getting standard across the globe, which means the same specs are to be met in each of the geography. And I see that as a potential opportunity for talent in every region to understand that specifications and to deliver, to build the capability to deliver those specifications. And that essentially means that your technical talent becomes mobile and fungible across various regions. And one of the outcome that I would like to see is India becoming the global capability centers for data center designs. Maybe if not for execution, because the execution is still very local, but maybe for designs. Just wanted to call out that thought. Uh, I, I don't know how much time we have. I think we have a few minutes, but just wanted to check with the audience if there are any questions. Any should I pick up someone to ask a question? Cool. Sure. I think we are done, but happy to connect offline with any of you. Sorry, yes, sir.
Hello. So, in the time to come, how do you see the quantum coming to play and working on this data centers? Because it requires tremendous amount of cooling and other solutions that need to be planned, and quantum is on its way already. So, if somebody could throw light on this aspect.
Yeah, Equinix already has a couple of quantum customers in Japan. I see that technology as really very exciting, perhaps more so to me now than AI, because I think it will allow us to help get to the sustainability goals quicker. The current pace of compute demands and the associated energy demands that are required for the AI models now is just not sustainable. And if we want to see that progression continue, we have to look at alternate ways of driving that compute. And I think quantum is that opportunity. Yes, it has a large amount of cooling, but it also offers an unparalleled amount of compute that we just can't get out of our current technology. So I see that as the next step.
Thank you very much. So I just wanted to add on to understand whether the same estate of the data centers could be explored, used for quantum parallel to the conventional data center with AI and all, or you see this as a distinct
So would
place?
the facilities be different?
Okay.
I don't see that that's the case. Certainly in the quantum installations that we have, they're alongside conventional deployments in our data centers. So I think they can operate in parallel.
Thank you.
I think just to add, for AI, it will be pretty different.
Sir, I wanted to understand the use cases for containerized data centers. And is there a demand which you are seeing across the world, and your views on India specific?
I'll just speak very quickly for Equinix. There has been a lot of demand, specifically in Australia, for instance, for mining applications. With the driverless vehicles and autonomous vehicles that they use in that, there is a low latency requirement. And while Equinix does not provide containerized data centers yet, I see that there is that demand there.
I think just to add, probably when edge data centers grow, maybe in tier 3, tier 4 locations, I think that's will happen in near future. Those kind of applications, it will be good.
Apart from mining, any other industries or sectors which you feel that a containerized data center will be applicable?
Yeah, so I think anywhere in a tier 4, tier 3 cities where you need to be closer to the user, where you need your latency issues to be resolved, I think that application will be used. I think Vipin, you want to?
Sure, CDN is one of the practical applications that people are using these days to distribute, let's say, live streaming or something of that sort. But to my mind, also there are fairly limited use cases as on date, but those would be the one.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Sorry, gentlemen there.
From market new entrance point of view, market's new entrance point of view, if someone want to enter into setting up a data center, how easy or the barriers for entering into this market, Indian market particularly? And
Yeah, that's a competitive information. Don't enter. We strictly warn you against that. Don't enter.
So if someone wants to enter, where should one start with? Start with the end client and start with the requirements and work back? Or do you think that there's a fixed setup they can first start with and then approach the...
Yeah, I'll give you a first principles answer and what we do at PDG. So ideally you would want to work with an end client, get an order in place, then go and buy a land. But that doesn't happen. What one needs to do is go and start building what the market calls speculative. At PDG, we call it as build to conviction. So wherever we have a conviction that we'll be able to sell this to a hyperscaler, we go ahead and start constructing a data center. And so far we have had success with that. But that needs a view to where your potential clients are gonna have a need, which is a view to the demand. It also needs a view to the specifications. It also needs capital, which will be at a comparatively higher risk. So you need to strike a good balance between the management's judgment call and also your investors' capital, which is at a comparatively higher risk. I think that's a broad framework. Yeah, maybe Simon, you can add.
There's a lot of entrants in every market now, not just India. And I think you would have to be really clear about how your value proposition differentiates from all the existing players. It's a big money industry that while it's very hot right now, there's a huge amount of capacity coming. And so you would need to really understand the linkage between your pipeline and your time frame and how you're going to deliver on that in a way that competitors like us can't do. And that is really, really tough. Now, like for Equinix, we're in quite a privileged position, but I tell you, in every market, it's a hard fight.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll just add, see this DC industry, the ROIs are very different. You need very deep pockets. There's a huge gestation period. You need almost 15 years, 20 years, very capital intensive industry. So it's not easy. I think today a lot of developers think that I have a piece of land and I can build a data center. That's not the case. It's a very difficult to deliver. It takes about 2.5 years, 3 years to build a data center, and then you get customer. Getting customer is also a challenge. Supply demand ratio needs to be seen. So there are many factors which one needs to take into consideration.
I just wanted to understand the market size in terms of the total demand. What is the percentage contribution by hyperscaler versus the others? And what do you see that mix changing in future?
So there was a presentation made by Schneider today morning. You could probably get the global numbers there. But talking about India, and I'm not referring to the base, I'm referring numbers at the margin. At the margin, hyperscalers are buying more than 80% of the capacity, which is why you'll see a lot of us talking about AI, talking about hyperscalers, talking about cloud. That's the kind of opportunity. Enterprise market is also growing at a much faster pace, but hyperscalers and AI are just moving at such a rapid pace that they still end up taking more than 80% of the capacity. Cool. Sir, I was told one last question, but maybe we can take yours and then.
My name is Dhiren Kumar. Actually, my question is about the location of data center in the India, because heading says how hyperscaler continue to change the dynamic. Whether your location is dependent upon the combination of energy or only latency, what I can make it out from the hearing your talks. I hope you are
Sure.
getting it.
So that's like choosing between left arm and the right arm. I would ideally like both. So for example, our first data center in Mumbai, we are sharing a boundary wall with the Kalwa substation, which is the most important substation for uptime of Mumbai. So we get both network as well as power. But now when, let's say if someone wants to build a 200 or 300 megawatt data center, you can't do that. In my mind, I think we are making a transition towards putting more weight on power availability and power access and trying to build connectivity around it. Having said that, there will be different kind of applications like Simon was mentioning earlier. Some for which latency is more important. They will not reach those kind of data centers. They will want capacity closer to the city centers. And then there are some which can afford a longer latency. But I think the data centers are slowly, especially the hyperscale and AI data centers, are putting more weight on power availability and building network around it.
What about wet bulb temperature?
Sorry, what about?
Wet bulb temperature, because the cooling load is completely dependent on it.
Sir,
So what I mean to say, the efficiency, rather cooling efficiency plays a major role. Can you think about the shifting the data center 500 kilometer or something like that, but you have the better energy optimization and cooling performance if you are going in hyperscaler mode, let us say, I speak about 100 megawatt or 200 megawatt, something like that, or even more than that.
maybe I'll let Pratap and Simon add, but my smaller answer is I don't know. Because we are also trying to anticipate, like I mentioned earlier, we are trying to, when answering the question of comparison, we are trying to understand where will our clients go and we'll build in line with that. If tomorrow I have a view to their demand that they're okay to go to a tier 2 or a tier 3 city where 500 megawatts are available and green power is accessible and they're okay with it, then we'll definitely go ahead and do. See, one way to look at it is we are not the decision makers of the location. We actually end up building where we anticipate our clients to be, and our clients decide the location on the basis of the applications they are running and their ultimate end clients. So it's all tied up. Maybe I don't know, Simon, if you want to add something to that.
No, I think there are many factors. Like when you build a data center, you need a flood risk assessment, earthquake zones, where you are. So uh, I think as of now, everybody is focusing on tier 1 and tier 2 cities. A lot of hyperscalers are going to maybe outskirts also. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but there are some challenges if you go too far off from the city, particularly getting fiber and power becomes more difficult. Getting talent to work there also becomes more difficult. So I think as of now, Mumbai and Chennai are the main locations preferred because of the cable landing stations. I think as and when new cable landing stations come up in other geographies, I think that will happen eventually.
Okay. So, in fact, Mumbai and Chennai both are at the same platform. You think about the cooling efficiency. But in my opinion, Bangalore would be the better choice because the weight ball temperature of the Bangalore is quite less than Mumbai. That's it. Thank
Sir,
you.
maybe I'll give you a short answer and then we'll stop it there because cooling is a challenge that can be solved with engineering. Some of the other challenges are even more difficult to solve. But we can talk a little more offline. Maybe I'll close the session. So first of all, thank you so much for all you guys. It was a very interactive session. Thank you for asking those questions and listening to us. Thank you, Simon, and thank you, Pratap. You've been absolutely wonderful colleagues. And